This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight, RJ and listeners, we're talking about a film trilogy by Ingmar Bergman. Some also call it the Silence Trilogy. But we're going to begin figuring that out because we're talking about tonight Through a Glass Darkly and Winter Light. Next week, we'll talk about The Silence and the documentary Ingmar Bergman Makes a Movie. That sound good?
I mean, would you listen if I said anything else?
Nope. So what does the back of this film trilogy box say?
Good question.
In 1960, Swedish director Ingmar Bergman began work on 3 of his most powerful and representative films, eventually presented as a trilogy. Already a figure of international acclaim for such masterpieces as The Seventh Seal and The Magician, Bergman turned his back on the expressionism of his 50s work to focus on a series of chamber dramas exploring belief and alienation in the modern age. Collaborating with the distinguished cinematographer Sven Nykvist and eliciting searing performances from his refined cast of regulars Harriet Andersson, Gunnar Bjornstrand, Gunnar Lundblom, Ingrid Tholen, and Max von Sydow, among them, Bergman unleashed Through a Glass Darkly, Winter Light, and The Silence in rapid succession, exposing moviegoers worldwide to a new level of intellectual and emotional intensity. Drawing on Bergman's own upbringing and ongoing spiritual crises, the films of the trilogy examine the necessity of religion and question the promise of faith.
Do you think that any of that applies to these movies? I don't really see the connection.
First up, Through a Glass Darkly from 1961. A synopsis from Letterboxd I will read first. Karen hopes to recover from her recent stay at a mental hospital by spending the summer at her family's cottage on a tiny island. Her husband, Martin, cares for her, but is frustrated by her physical withdrawal. Her younger brother, Minus, is confused by Karen's vulnerability and his own budding sexuality. Their father, David, cannot overcome his haughty remoteness. Beset by visions, Karen descends further into madness.
Do you find that that's fitting? Because I don't remember any of that in the movie we watched. Not really.
Okay. So, I've seen these movies about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I had gotten this the DVD set that had just gone out of print at the time and was getting harder and harder to get. It's now been since rectified. It's now available on Blu-ray and also on the Criterion channel for everyone to delve into. So I watched these kind of having a sense of what these movies were, and like they're always talked about. You know, I like this Bergman guy. I like checking out his movies. And so I watched like all 3 of these pretty close together, I believe. Letterboxd would prove me a liar or not. But and I remember liking this movie. But and I didn't really remember too much about it off the top of my head. I do remember things about like how this mental hospital recovery stuff seemed to be. I had a very different type of movie in my mind when you hear the description of what this movie's about when you watch it, because it doesn't quite feel that way. But it does have. I mean, it does seem to be similar to the description given.
Yeah, I mean
it bears some resemblance.
Yeah, it's a little bit there, I guess.
So, watching the movie the second time, I was kind of surprised how I remembered some things, but I didn't remember how things connected up. The very first shot of this movie, though, for whatever reason, with the 4 figures emerging from the water, I was like, oh, it's like shockwaves, but they're not underwater Nazi zombies. They're Swedish people.
You're not sure though. Like, you can't say that they weren't.
Wow, I don't know. I try to do a screen comparison. It's not quite the same, but there is a haunting similarity that perhaps director of Shockwaves was like, I really love that Bergman. I really wanted to bring some of that Through a Glass Darkly into this movie. I wouldn't rule it out. You know, people were watching this. This is internationally acclaimed, as Criterion would say.
Well, in some people's opinions.
So, yeah, we got like old Max von Sydow, whatever. He looks quite a bit older than his bride the daughter. Did you feel that? Like
I noticed that also.
Max von Sydow, like he's a weird guy because he looks a lot older than he was when he's young because he's been perpetually old for a very long time now.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because it's always the Exorcist thing, right? Like how like crazy that makeup is and how old he looks in that, and now he looks older. Like he maybe doesn't even look as old now as he did in like 1973 in makeup. When I think of this, and then you think about Seventh Seal, and he's like very young and blonde and bronzy, but in this it's like he seems older, like he's leapt up in a few years. But I guess he was like early 30s
in this movie.
Yeah.
And how old is the lady that?
I'm not even.
Was she just young looking?
She looks young, right? But she's older than her younger brother, who's like very like gawky still, very adolescent.
She looks like the same age as the brother, like, or not the same, but like close. And then Max von Sydow looks the same age as the dad. And I was just like, well, I guess he just married a young lady.
And you did recognize the dad, right? The actor.
Well, I recognized him in the next movie.
But he's the squire in Seventh Seal.
He is?
Yep.
How many years gap is that?
Oh, what year?
57, 63. Yeah. So 6 years.
Yeah.
No, he reminded me of I had a really good comparison. You know how I make good comparisons? Like if I was like, he looks like John Lovitz, you'd be like, yeah, he totally does.
Okay, so the difference in age between Harriet Anderson and Sydow is like 3 years. So she's just she's really young looking.
She's just youthful, is what some creepy guy would probably say.
Very youthful.
Very youthful.
Actually, maybe he's even older than that. Maybe he's like almost 40. I don't know in the movie. But anyway, he just looks older.
Yeah,
maybe
he looks like an old dude, and she looks not.
Yeah, maybe it's that fair skin. It's always the sun and weather is a lot more unforgiving when you're fair haired. But possible. So anyway. That all being said, so we get these like kind of like these like little references to the fact that she's not well. Initially, she seems totally fine, and but the old David, the dad, and Martin, they're like having these conversations. Oh, I sent you a letter. Oh, what about? And then we cut to Minus and Karen hanging out. Karen like does kind of act a little odd around her brother, like kind of this weird like. Very immature, but also somewhat flirtatious, which is kind of weird.
It's danced around, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, look how playful we are.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I never felt threatened by it.
No, you didn't feel like someone's going to like a sibling was going to reach out to get you?
No, not watching this movie. There's been other movies where you do feel a little bit unsafe, but
okay,
not in this one.
Yeah. So one of the things that became prevalent to me and reminded me of my first time watching this is the privilege on display of these characters. Where you're like, these poor Swedish people with their like beachfront like island house. In this cottage, and they have like this like pier with this like sunken ship, and you're like, what is this? Like these people live in it's like, was it Faroe Island that they're on? And
it's something like that.
Yeah. It's used often by Bergman at this point after his cinematographer introduced him to it. I can read Wikipedia, folks. Don't you worry. Okay. And I'm like, fuck. Like, how are people supposed to relate to this? Like, these people are like, I'm a little mentally ill, and by the end of this, you get the choice of like, well, I'm not well enough to function in society. I just want to go back and be drugged up all the time. It's like, well, that's nice.
That's kind of relatable, though. No.
Not for me, I guess. Not for me.
No, I know what you mean. That was like, remember one of my most infamous problems with Call Me by Your Name was this rich family, like just vacationing in their like Italian villa, their chateau, and it was just like, here we are. Is like everything's great, but we're sad, and you're like, I don't really feel bad for you guys.
Only
it didn't strike me as much in this movie, but I was kind of like, what's this lifestyle they live where they just go collect their fish nets and and they live in this like kind of falling apart house.
The father is like there's like the main floor seems fine, but that upstairs, oh boy,
Yeah.
it's some real David Lynch decrepit dream imagery.
Yeah, I thought it was strange too because I was like, everything else looks really nice. I was like, I wonder why they,
Because it's where the mind is, upstairs.
Oh my God, are you talking about metaphors, Jarrett?
Metaphors and shit.
Shit. Okay, well, tell me more about this movie that you watched allegedly.
Well, we got Minus. He wants to be a writer like his poppy. He's going to write those plays, and which it seems like it's some Ingmar Bergman stuff right there. I've seen I've seen that Fanny Alexander, and it's even Seven Seal. He likes performers in the theater, and that pops up here and there in his movies. As do this kind of the format of the chamber drama. Of these people like all being kind of like locked in and confronted with one another. We've seen that executed very well with something like, say, Autumn Sonata.
Yeah, I suppose those are fairly similar.
Oh yeah, it's always
it's always one thing or the other.
These domestic interior movies, and then Woody Allen then makes a movie called Interiors, which is a Bergman movie. This one's weird though because it seems like in my snapshot of Bergman usually is like a lot of female characters. In this one, it's like a regular sausage party, and they're all. It's like you have the old man of her dad. You have this like middle-aged man that looks middle-aged but not really of Seedow, and then you have the younger brother who's like probably like a teenager, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think they play him off younger than he looks, it seems like, because he looks like a teenager, but like sometimes the way they treat him, it's like, is this kid like 8 years old or is that like to represent how he feels that he's being treated?
So
you know what I mean?
He was 20 when this movie was released, so he is quite a bit younger than the others by about, I don't know, he's only 12 years younger than Seedow.
They treat him like a little baby though.
They do, and he just wants Papa to talk to him, just like we all want Papa to talk to us and our God. Do
you talk to your dad?
Yeah, he sent me a message. He watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and loved it.
It would have been funnier if the message was really mean. It was like, I don't like you.
You're a constant disappointment.
See, that's the kind of stuff people are tuning in for, Jarrett.
That's right. Wow.
Okay.
So anyways,
tell me about this little kid, or whatever you were going to talk about.
Minus, what a name.
Yeah, sure.
Minus,
like
Linus.
Minus. Yeah,
I don't know.
Sure.
He's I don't know. He has some problems. He displays some like he's on the road to the incel life, but women sticking out their stomachs.
I also had that vibe, and then like when he gets confronted, he pouts and he spills his milk everywhere.
Oh yeah, well,
he's a pouty baby.
He has a real raging out moment, and
maybe that's why they treat him like a baby.
But then later on, you get that scene on the boat with like this weird cut to like a downpour, and you're like, it wasn't raining a second ago. Why are they asleep? But I guess they have their clothes on. But then she says, Karen says, I did something really bad, and Daddy knows what that is without wanting to talk about it. And Minus doesn't want to see Dad anymore. And you go. What did something go down? Did something happen? I don't know. It's pretty ambiguous, RJ. I don't know about that.
What do you think went down?
A little bit of that incest, maybe. I don't know.
Oh my God, I never got that.
It's left there. I don't know. It's on that table.
You could be right. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's mention of things. I usually try to just tune that kind of stuff out.
Pretend it's not there.
And by that stuff, I mean movies.
Right.
I just usually try to tune them out. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
I feel like I did. Yeah. So this movie, on a technical level, cinematography, gorgeous. This movie looks awesome. It always looks great. Even while I was watching my DVD of this, standard def, it still looks so good.
You watched it on DVD?
Yep. Because I own these bad boys. You watched it on the channel?
I did watch it on the channel. I watched them both on the channel.
And how they look?
I thought they looked great.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah. Like I thought they looked real good, dude. But that's just, I don't know. I don't know what like kind of resolution was on the channel or anything like that.
How many pixels were on display?
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought I thought it all looked great. So that's about as much as I can say.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this movie.
Okay. Tell me more.
It's Bergman.
Yes, it is.
I'm trying to put it into context of other Bergmans that I've watched, and like even like Winter Light. I will say that of the three, this one's like kind of my like, and I haven't watched this. I haven't rewatched Silence, but looking ahead at what I thought of the movies when I watched them 3 years ago, I think Silence is my favorite of the three, and this one would be my number 2.
Ooh, shit.
So just in terms of the story, because
Sure.
it's got this amazing sequence where like okay, the one thing that I find really misleading with this letterbox synopsis is this talk about her Karen having these like visions and descending into further madness. So there's only like really like what 2 scenes that like play out that way, because there's the first, because there's the
2
one
that you see.
yeah, so you get the one where it's like, yeah, Sitao's sleeping, and then you see her, like you have that awesome shot with her kind of like sleeping behind him with the light on her face, and then her eye opens and she's looking around, and then she gets up, and then she goes upstairs into the like kind of the unfinished decrepit room, and she starts getting into possession mode, where she's just like, where she's just writhing around, and it's sort of like, is this like a sexual kind of trance that she's in? And it's like, it's shot in this way that I don't think that scene would be shot at all anymore. It would be like, it's like kind of removed, and it's not letting you like be sympathetic to her at all. Like, other than like, it's not like from her over her body and gazing on her body as it writhes around. It's like you're just watching it like kind of like from a medical standpoint, and she's just framed by the emptiness of the room, and it's more of a disturbing kind of thing, because you're just watching mental illness kind of playing out. This her schizophrenia, I guess. And then then the movie's climax comes with the return to this room, and the intensity of that, and you have the monologue where we're introduced to the spider god that is on the cover of the box set, this like white tarantula creature, and you have this description of this god coming out of a door and trying to penetrate her, and I'm like, whoa. What is it? What's going on here? This is pretty cool. And I'm like, I'm sure it's not this Lovecraft type of thing. It's more of it is on the metaphorical side. But as we'll learn in the other film, the spider god's mentioned again, and then you're like, what's all this about?
What's all this then? Yeah, I wasn't when it was happening. I was like, yeah, I know about mental illness. I know what you're talking about over there.
Yeah.
I see what's going on. And then, it gets brought up a few more other times, and I was like, wait a minute. What's going on here?
And then
what's going on to Spider God?
And then this whirly bird shows up and sweeps everybody away.
Do you think that was written in the script where it's just like, and then they went back to their own planet? That'd be cool. Yeah. I don't know.
What do you think about the dad, David's character in this?
I mean, he's not the most likable guy.
Yeah, well, because there's this idea that he's like suffering from writer's block, but he's like always on tour, and it seems like one of his other books has been picked up, and he's got to go on another tour, and he's going to go to Switzerland or something like that, and his family's like, "Oh, Dad, you're dumping us again."
Yeah, I mean,
you promised.
When my Minus is just like, I'm really sad that you're leaving again. The dad's like, what are you going to do, man? I got a tour. And then Minus is like, all right, here's a compromise. I'll put on a small skit for you to express to you why I'm upset. And it all works out.
Yeah, and David even tried to kill himself, talking about driving over a cliff. But you're just like, yeah, but you're also a coward. And now you're like writing notes about like following your daughter.
Yeah, the dad's not super likable, Jarrett, for certain reasons. And I think a lot of it, like, I kind of like the scene on the boat when Max von Sydow is kind of just like, he's like, you suck. You're pathetic. He's like, look at you. Look at you. He doesn't say it in that way, but like, he's basically just like, you're kind of a shitty dude. And he's like, yeah, like, not that he did anything like outright bad that isn't just alluded to.
Right.
You're just like, yeah, he's just kind of a bad dude.
Yeah.
You know.
So RJ, what did you think of Through a Glass Darkly?
Through a Glass Darkly. Oh man, I just thought of a sick review. Through an Ass.
Or even like how
Something.
about that Bach score?
Oh, Bach? Man, I know all about Bach. Let me tell you.
Bringing it Bach.
Bringing it Bach. So I was familiar with this box set, Jarrett. I almost bought this box set before we even started this whole podcast thing. Can you believe that?
I can.
Actually, my old roommate Scott, he owned this box set.
Yep.
And I was going to watch it with him, and then it just never happened, and he watched them on his own, and he really liked them. So I went into it, and it was just, when I saw it was coming up, I was like, oh yeah, those are those movies Scott really liked. Can't wait to check them out. And I believe I'm usually on the right side of history with the Bergman movies. Like, they usually hit the spot.
Yep.
I liked Through a Glass Darkly a lot. I don't think it's as good as the other Bergmans we've watched so far.
Even the magic flute.
It's definitely better than the Magic Flute, and I don't know. It might be better than Cries and Whispers. I think it's definitely not as good as the others.
I see.
Like
I never. Yeah, Cries and Whispers is always kind of the one that
you forget.
I forget about. Yeah, like, I'd say. I mean, Wild Strawberries is like that for me though too. I'd say like those. I think these three are like kind of on the like Wild Strawberries, Cries and Whispers, and Through a Glass Darkly are kind of on the same wavelength for me.
Yep, I think that's fair. So like there's, anyways, I just kind of put it into the perspective there. So I do like, I kind of like how I don't want to say like boring, but like kind of how simple this movie is, where it's just kind of like this girl's sick. And they're like, oh shit, that sucks. And then that's it. That's the whole movie for an hour and a half. And it's just like, oh man, she's really not doing good. And then they're like, yeah, it sucks. What are you going to do? Like, I don't know. That was my read on this thing. It was that it's like I said, it's not boring, but it's just like, yeah, this lady's kind of sick. What are you going to do about it? I didn't totally love the... I think there is a few Bergman-y things, like that little skit thing. It's not bad. I thought it was fine, but I was like, I bet he wanted to do more of that Magic Flute style, where it's just this weird old Swedish tradition living in these like dilapidated houses where these dudes just reenact like plays and sing to each other on pan flutes and like stuff like that. I was like, I see what you're up to, Bergman, you weird old dude. I think Max von Sydow is great. I do like the characters. Like, I like the interactions between them and like their relationships. And I think it's I like the idea that there's this lady who's just kind of has mental illness, and they're all like, yeah, you got it. And then it's just like, oh no, wait, she's really got it. And I was kind of like, I wonder if it got progressively worse, or if they just didn't know how much it was like actually a part of her life. I really like when she's just hanging out in the attic talking into that thing in the wall. It reminded me of Beyond the Walls, that French miniseries. I was just like, I wonder if she goes through the wall and it turns into a horror video game. That'd be cool. I was like, that'd be really cool. But maybe those people were big fans of this movie, and they're like, what if the spider god was real? You know what I mean? Actually, I remember, like, do you have the DVD pack where the cover is the spider?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's a good clue, right? Oh, good clue. What else is there to say about this movie? The little kid, I think, is whiny and annoying. He's like, nobody likes me. No one wants to hang out with me. Girls are showing their skin too much. And I was like, yeah, I know. I feel all the same things, dude, but relax. She's a really good character. I like her kind of interactions. Like displaying the things, like what you said, where she's just kind of like sitting up around people that are sleeping, and you're just like, oh shit, it's spooky. Max von Sydow is the only one who actually seems like he cares. The dad is so aloof all the time. He's like, I want to be better, but I don't want to do anything to help. What was I gonna say? Oh, you know what annoyed me was that little kid when he just jumps in his dad's window and he's like,
oh yes,
let's go drag the nets, Dad. And I was like, use the door, you animal. But it also, like, I find the house super strange. So it's kind of like what you were saying, where I don't. It's not in the sense that you said, where you're like, I have a hard time feeling bad for them, but I was kind of just like, what is this? What are these people's lives that they just live in this like cottage by the sea, and the kids are like jumping in through windows. They're like, let's go get the fish, man. There's like old broken down boats everywhere. The house itself is like kind of falling apart.
It's because it's a gothic tale.
I know. Max von Sydow doesn't even fit in any of the doorways. He's got to like,
oh goddamn, I've
crouch over.
Oh yeah, you really feel that toward the end where he's like always ducking in. You're like, I know that feeling, brother.
Yeah. So the house itself was a character for me because I was like, this house is weird, man.
Yeah,
what a strange house.
Yeah, it's a peculiar set, and it's huge. Like it's just, it feels so gigantic upstairs. Yet it's low, and the giant Max has to duck around.
Mm-hmm.
Poor bastard.
Definitely, but yeah, no, I like Through a Glass Darkly. It's, I don't know. It's like I said, there are a few Bergmans I don't like. So I'm on board with this dude. Mm-hmm. I like his style.
Style and profile. One time, Andrea's dad got her a birthday card, and he got it for her sister also because their birthday is like a week away. And it was the same card for both of them, and it said, "Love your smile, love your style." So I say that to Andrea. Like, I text her that like once a month, maybe. She's always like, "Stop," and I'm like, "No." I think it's funny. So, you know, that's I think could turn into a Bergman tragedy one day. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's like I said, I think it's got all the marks of the stuff of Bergman movies I do like. And I think he doesn't actually go for it like with that little skit play too much. But I was like, the potential's there. I was like, I think he wanted to go into those things that I don't like about Bergman as much. So I was like, I'm glad that he didn't.
Good.
What do you think about Glass Darkly?
Glass Darkly. That's almost like a M. Night Shyamalan film.
Glass Darkly. You know what the twist would be?
It's all taking place in the girl's head.
Yeah, sure.
On Faroe Island.
Maybe. Can you think of a funny title, like instead of Through a Glass Darkly, like Through an Ass Sharply or something?
Jesus.
For our Mad Magazine riff. No? Okay.
Done.
Powering on. Well, any lingering thoughts, Jer?
Lingering thoughts.
Ingmaring thoughts?
Maybe more will come to me as we talk about the next film. All right. So, Winter Light, 1963. Mm-hmm. The synopsis from Letterboxd. A Swedish pastor fails a loving woman, a suicidal fisherman, and God.
Man, he's really fucking up, eh?
That's it.
Yeah, he's really fucking up.
Okay, let's try reading the one off of the box itself, the DVD. God, why hast thou forsaken me? With Winter Light, Ingmar Bergman explores the search for redemption in a meaningless existence. Small-town pastor Thomas Eriksson, Gunnar Bjornstrand, performs his duties mechanically before a dwindling congregation, including his stubbornly devoted lover, Marta Ingurtholen. When he is asked to assuage a troubled parishioner's debilitating fear of nuclear annihilation, Thomas is terrified to find that he can provide nothing but his own doubt. The beautifully photographed Winter Light is an unsettling look at the human craving for personal validation in a world seemingly abandoned by God.
What a cheery idea for a movie, right, Jer?
That's right. So, Winter Light, again, I watched this a few years ago when I watched this trilogy the first time through. I also wound up watching it when I watched the film First Reformed, the Paul Schrader movie with Ethan Hawke, which very much borrows, knowingly, and it's not like a secret, takes a lot of the format of Winter Light and expounds upon it, and I would say in a very stupid sort of way. A lot of people like the movie, though, but that's for you to decide.
I tried, dude. I tried to watch it, but it was unavailable.
Yeah, unfortunate.
It was unavailable.
One thing I will throw out there first that I learned. So the organist in Winter Light, played by Olaf Thunberg, he is the grandfather to Greta Thunberg, the climate activist.
Okay, so wait, who is that guy? How is he related to this movie?
So Olaf Thunberg, who plays the organist, The
okay.
Yeah, the drunk organist who doesn't give a shit about anything. Yeah, the actor, he's the grandfather to Greta Thunberg.
How fun.
Yeah.
How what do you think about climate change?
How do I feel about the world burning?
It's appropriate for winter light.
Yeah, there you go. It's a different. Well, it's actually relevant in terms of the film First Reformed, which instead of using nuclear annihilation uses environmental collapse. So there you go. What a linkage. So
Kind of sad.
Kind of sad. So Winter Light. This movie opens up and presents to you, the audience, if you wanted to reenact what it's like to go to church for like 20 minutes. I don't know if it's 20 minutes.
I clocked it.
Okay, how long does the church sequence go before it starts?
14 minutes.
Okay, so the first 14 minutes of Winter Light, it is like going to see a sermon, I guess, or whatever this shit's called, and you get to experience it live, and you get all the people sniffling around, looking longingly. They're going to receive their communion, drink from that dirty wine cup. Getting there, spreading those herpes and cold sores.
Dear.
Yeah, I don't know if the wine helps on that front, but so
can't hurt.
We got the return of Gunnar Bjornstrand. He's the big dog in this. He's the Pastor Tom. He's doing noon service in this little town. No one cares. We have Mox Van Sydow rocking the Norman Osborn haircut with his pregnant wife. And then,
which Norman Osborn, from the Sam Raimi movies or from the comics?
From the comics.
Okay.
Nice. It's like cornrows, kind of.
Yeah, that red cornrow going all the way back.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
So, he's going through the motions. It doesn't even. I mean, to me, it doesn't even feel like he's going through the motions. Like, this is just like what you do. This is what this whole thing's about. It's about offering comfort. You get all this kind of weird, spooky church stuff that I have no relation to. But the space is huge and all-encompassing, weird angles and booths. You can definitely feel that at one point this was a more important place to people. But maybe this village, maybe it's not even about religion. Maybe it's just that like a lot of people, the urban, like the rural people, they've moved on. They've moved to the big city. And if they aren't there, they've got other things they have to do at that moment. Because God's just that much less important. Hard to say.
These are the big questions, Jer.
Yeah. We have the cripple.
What's his deal?
He got messed up at work. I think there's some comments about him working at for a train company. He got dumped on, and he's just trying to find his way in life and justify his existence and pain and suffering. And he's found some solace in the good book, in that good old religion. But then we're just like watching this old sad sack Thomas kind of like trying to do his thing, and even he's kind of like, I don't know. What's it all about? I don't know. We have the suicidal fisherman played by Max von Sydow. He read about in a newspaper about China and how China is going to have the atom bomb, and they don't care because they're communists. They don't believe in God. They'll just drop it right on us, and there's nothing we can do. And this has like really got into his head. And his wife's like, well, we've got like baby number 4 or 5 on the way. Need that daddy. Need that fisherman money. Need that need that guy in my life. Maybe you can give him some encouraging words. And
does it work?
Well, they leave to go home first, and he's like, well, he's going to be more comfortable talking to you one-on-one. So we're going to leave for a bit. You hang out here before you hit the next town, hit your next date, spreading the good word at the next location. It's the big takedown. The organist, surly man, doesn't care about this. The cripple, he's I'm so mean.
The what now?
He's going to go fire up the furnace over there an hour earlier, and he's got some very important things to talk to him about. And then we're introduced to Marta, who had really bad rash.
I was a little confused at the rash. I was kind of like, wait a minute, how does this play in? And then I was like, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
So both this and Through a Glass Darkly involve the same actor with a dead wife.
Yeah, and so like, one thing that kind of confused me a little bit was like, is Max von Sydow playing like almost the same character as the last movie?
Well,
because he's not a doctor anymore, but his wife's
named Karen.
Yeah, I was just like, is it like supposed to be the same characters?
No.
Is this an MCU shared universe?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just kind of
just
odd
happens.
Karen's just a common name.
In Sweden?
Maybe.
Do you think it's a common name here?
Karen?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know some Karens.
What do you think the most popular name is in Canada?
Mercedes.
Ooh, I've known a few. Okay.
Logan.
Just because of the movie?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, sick.
Aria.
No, it doesn't. I can't. I was gonna say I know some bad names, but they're real people. I can't shame them in such a way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first 15 minutes is sermon. The next sequence is cleanup. It's like kind of packing up, winding down, counting the money, finding out like how little money you get, and you're like, how are we going to keep this ship going? That's not a lot of money. And then we have one of the first interaction between Thomas and Marta.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes back to his office, the pastor office, and he reads a letter from her. And we jump from this kind of typically shot movie to this like straight on reading of the letter by Marta, in the actress, I guess, delivering this monologue. And it goes on for 10 minutes, probably. It's like a total one take kind of thing, it feels like. Maybe there's some edits. And then finally he drops the letter. He stuffs the letter angrily into the envelope. He's just like, fuck. And then he's kind of like, man, this broad, she just won't leave me alone. And then the fisherman, he shows up. Just like when they're about to call it quits. Hey, let's have a talk. And there's some more talk about Spider God at this point.
Yeah. What is this conversation about the Spider God?
I don't even know.
It's the priest experience with the Spider God, no?
That's right. Stone faced and I don't know. So you get that. None of this is helping. None of this is helping at all.
Not really.
Nope. And so fisherman kills himself.
Yeah, in with a rifle, no less. Do you think he went out like Hemingway?
Well, those long arms, those are fine for hunting, right?
What do you think his reach was? Or is, because he's still alive. Max von... Well, I mean, because he would have shrunk a little bit.
Yeah, he's a tall boy. He's probably got real long arms, like John Jones arms.
That's just called reach, right? Like their wingspan?
Yeah.
Or should I put in wingspan?
Reach.
Okay, I put in Max von Sydow reach.
Do they have stats for reaches of actors usually?
Well, they usually don't, but I don't know why not.
Can he shoot from the 3-point line? Is that a thing?
I'm sure he could. Okay, it's just the reach was mostly about like how he's reached out so many people in his life through his acting.
Okay.
But is he on Twitter?
I hope not.
Okay, if he is, I'll reach out to him through our
at him.
Vic, what's your wingspan, dude? Okay, I'm gonna keep looking on this. Tell me more about the guy who killed himself. Are you looking into it too?
What's that? What did you ask me?
I said, tell me more about the guy who killed himself. He was a fisherman.
He was a fisherman. Legend. Didn't like that idea of an atomic bomb. He kills himself. He says, "Screw you, family and kids. I got nothing to live for."
True. Isn't there some way to figure it out, like based on height, like what your wingspan is?
Jesus.
Well, he's 6'4". So let's just say 3'2". Like it's half, right?
Sure.
Or isn't it full?
He's probably got like 72 inch at least.
He's a pretty big dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. Sick. Okay, keep going.
So anyway, Thomas talks about his trip to the Spanish Civil War. and I couldn't reconcile horrible things with God being a thing. So I never really figured that all out, I guess, and has been trying to do just that. Didn't work out.
No, it doesn't. Sorry, I was still looking up Max von Sydow. I'm paying attention now, though. No, it doesn't work out, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay, I can't find an answer. I'm going to abandon this for a while.
So
Okay,
yeah, so it basically it leaves off with Thomas giving him, hey, you know what? If we deny the existence of God, man's cruelty needs no explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that not true?
He calls it a day.
Yeah. Have you ever been in that situation?
Probably not with a suicidal person.
What about a priest?
No, I haven't really met too many of those in my life.
Man, you've barely lived at all.
So anyway, Thomas and Marta, they have their next meetup, and he tells her off pretty horribly. The one thing I'm not sold on in this though is this whole talk of her being homely. And
what do you think they meant by homely?
I don't know if he meant like personality wise, because it's like, what's wrong with her? She looks okay. I mean, she dresses in like for the weather very warmly. Doesn't want to bring a lot of attention to herself. I don't know. I find it bizarre.
I never even really picked up on that, to be honest. I was kind of just like, she wears a sweater.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
That's not a big deal at all. So yeah, this whole thing is that she can't live up to his dead wife that he loved completely, and once she got taken out of the equation, he really doesn't give a shit about this God business, and maybe that's what's chasing people away, because they can feel it, and they're like, oh yeah, maybe there isn't one of those.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's kind of fair, right? Like, a lot of people feel like that. They're like, why even bother? And if you don't model the behavior that you expect, Jarrett, there's no way you're going to get it back.
So,
right?
He tells her off, and soon after, he feels bad. It says, hey, you want to go for a car ride? you want to go to the next one? She's like, okay. So, because you feel like, I don't know, it almost feels like this circular thing that they've done this before, and there's sort of maybe a performance to this all, and it's like, this isn't the first letter, and maybe this has been going on for like a long time, and it's going to keep happening. So they all arrive at the bigger church, and no one's there, except for now Marta, who's going to sit there in the pews and listen to whatever Thomas spews. The cripple, as I've lovingly referred to him as, the handicapped sexton, Algot, his name. He's there, and he asks his question. He talks about the passion, RJ. He talks about Jesus, how, the thing they always focus on is how much he suffered. But it's, he timed it out, just like we've timed out the length of some of these scenes in this picture. For like 4 hours. And, he got off not that bad.
It's not too bad. It's shorter than this, or it's longer than this movie.
But in essence, yeah. But you think about, like, the suffering of, like, all these people who never got it. That surrounded him, they all abandoned him, and having to live with that, and the fact that, hey, now you're going to get crucified. It's actually a really good sequence. Like, it's really well shot. This like back and forth, the camera like wanders back and forth and zooms in weirdly. Like, it's very not what you'd expect, but it plays out really well. I think it's probably the best scene of the movie for me. And this because it goes right back to this idea of like why this is the Silence trilogy, and this idea of living in a world where like God's not chatting us up, we're just talking into this great void. And in this one, it drives that point home probably pretty hard, because even Jesus was didn't hear him. It was the conclusion. And
then that's where Last Temptation of Christ kicks in, is right after that guy finishes talking. He's like, I found a movie we should watch, priest.
Let's pop it in.
Sorry, what are you talking about? God?
This movie called Winterlight.
Oh, right.
So there's a question about, hey, are we even going to run this? Like, no one's even here. If we didn't, the only person that would know is Marta, and she doesn't care. And the old organist, Greta Thunberg's grandpa, his character doesn't give a shit. and he seems like ready to go for a poke. He doesn't care.
For
And
what, Jarrett?
one of those pokes. You tune in last week's episode and hear more about that.
Okay.
But he's just like, yeah, fuck, I don't want to do this again. But it's like, that's what we do. They turn on the switch to the candlelit like chandeliers that are like electric. I felt, which was kind of
they were.
Yeah, which was interesting.
Well, there's comment on that, right? About like electric versus other. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but watching it light up, I was like, oh, the technology.
Is that? Do you think it was like some kind of metaphor?
Well, there is. I kind of also really like how this movie ends. The final note of this comes out of nowhere. It's like, what is this? No Country for Old Men, where it just ends hard, and it's like, yep. No matter what, that sequence at the beginning that goes on for 14 minutes, it sets up this final sequence where it's like, we're going to do it live. We're going to fucking do it live, Bill O'Reilly style.
Really. Doing it live. Yeah. Okay. So tell me more.
It doesn't matter. We're going to do this, and I'm going to fucking do this to an empty room. No one has to listen to it because no one's listening. It takes you to a real dark place.
Sure it does.
No.
So what did you think of this movie, Jer?
So this is definitely more of a trying my patience film at times, because I do not care about this religious stuff. It is not in my wheelhouse. It is not something I think about or care about. It's not an issue for me. I'm long past this idea, and watching someone struggle with it, it's kind of like, yeah, well, get on with it. Move along. Let's just pack it up.
Tell me how you really feel.
I am.
Okay.
Am. So there's definitely going to be a disconnect for me with the plot of this movie, more so. But I will say that I liked it more the second time.
Okay.
I think I really do like the ending. I love the abruptness of it. I find that it's a bold direction. There's no play out. There's no exterior shot of the church with the end. It's just, he just starts talking about that God is holy and that all the earth is full of his glory. And it's like a sick joke. And it just cuts out. It's a bold statement. And I'm really curious about Bergman's mindset on this, which we're going to maybe find out a little bit about, because next week when we talk about the Ingmar Bergman Makes a Movie documentary, that's the making of this particular film.
Well, it would have been good to know that before, but whatever. We wouldn't have done it anyways. It's not in the spine order.
Exactly.
That's the whole point, right?
Exactly.
We're not going to do 4 fucking movies in one go.
It's gonna stand on its own.
Sure.
For better or worse. Why not?
And hey, if it doesn't stand on its own, then why is it included in the Criterion Collection?
I mean, it is from the man who brought us the Colors films.
It's not the same guy who did that My Meter movie, is it?
I am curious. Blue and yellow.
Oh.
We'll see how this works. We'll see how that plays. But anyway, Win or Light. So like I said, I definitely like this more the second time watching it. But at the same time, I said, like, I have a hard time relating to the material in any meaningful way. I guess Bergman, maybe I could say boldly, fails at getting that to work for me. Because I mean, I've watched movies that kind of touch on religion to various degrees and really, really like them, like Passion of Joan of Arc or Last Temptation of Christ.
First Reformed.
First Reformed has the same problem, but is even like, as I said, the dumber version of this movie. But I'm curious, RJ, what you think as a man who has spent some time on the other side.
Are you talking about a man of the cloth, Jarrett?
Touching cloth.
Touching cloth? Well, I guess, man of the cloth would be someone who actually is. Yeah, I know what you mean. So, religion, eh? Interesting. So here's my rub on this, Jarrett. I've talked about before how I'm a good Catholic boy many, many times. All the time. So when those first 15 minutes hit, I was like, oh yeah, you're going through the motions. Sick. And then I was like, ooh, yeah, that's what it is in our language too. So it's above translations and it is timeless, clearly. So I was like, I guess they got that right when they wrote the book, whoever they were, whatever their names were. So I was like, that's neat. And after a while, I was like, I know what's going on here. Cool, cool. And then it kept going. I was like, I wonder how long this is going to go. So that's why I timed it. When it ended, I was like, 14 minutes, huh? I was like, shit. But I think possibly old Ingmar was showing what he thought of those things too. He's like, so you're going to go, like some people go to mass like 2-3 times a week, Jarrett.
Yeah.
And they get that part of the mass like a bunch, giving out the host. What are you going to do?
Some people need that stuff.
Some people need that. So I might shock you here, Jared. I actually think I liked Winterlight more than Glass Darkly.
Okay.
I didn't again, I didn't like love it or anything like that, but it actually did appeal to some of my Catholic roots, because not even in like any actual religious sense, I was kind of just like, I like this story. I was like, I think that's a neat thing to explore. Like this priest who's kind of just like, I don't know, man. He's like, what if God's a huge spider and it's like something else? And I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. And the movie actually kind of just like mirrored some of the things that I feel like I thought it was really interesting, because of things that I think people say all the time, and then it's like ironically kind of timeless, where like Max von Sydow's like, he's like, what's even the fucking point? He's like, this world's gonna go down anyways. And I remember when there was some bad stuff happening in the world like a week or two ago, with planes and countries and like not happy with each other, and a lot of people were like, what's even the point anymore? It's like, why are you even gonna bring kids in this world? It's a bad place. I was just like, oh shit. And like the one thing I think people always say is like, it didn't used to be like this, It seems worse than ever. Like that Joker movie, Jarrett. Is it me, or is it getting worse out there? So, anyways, Winterlight is Joker remake. But I was just kind of, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I think that's what people think a lot. And then I think Bergman was a smart guy, and I think he had layers to smart cookie. He was a good dude, it seems like. I think he had some layers to this, where he was both voicing his frustration with religion as a practice and whole, where it's like where people find like frustration with it, but then I think he was also kind of trying to show like some of the strength of it too. And I'm not promoting one way or the other. I'm just saying, like, I think he actually did a fair shake, where he's like, here's some good, here's some bad. He's like, these are the tough things about it to support it, and these are the tough things to not support it. So I actually kind of really like the portrayal of that, whereas like he's like, yeah, it sucks that no one ever talks back to you. That's really hard. But then it's like, I really like the hard ending too. He's like, we're gonna fucking go live. We're still gonna do it. He's like, because that's the whole point, right? Like, even though he was like very frustrated, he's just like, you still do it. He's like, because that's kind of what we do. And not even like in a blind rage where he's like, we'll do it anyways. But I like, you know what I mean? I actually kind of thought it was a little optimistic, even though it's the whole movie in general is like kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm not promoting one thing or the other, but I was like, I actually thought he did a nice little shakedown. And it's like I said, I kind of mirror in some of the sentiments of both Max von Sydow and the priest, where they're kind of just like, hey, maybe nothing matters. As I've said many times, Jarrett, nothing matters. Life isn't real. Art isn't real. So when I was watching this, I was kind of like, yeah. I was like, they're saying what I'm thinking. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, wait a minute. That guy killed himself. This guy doesn't want to be alive either. I was like, wait a minute. Am I unwell? I was like, do I have an issue? And then I think like the scene where he like completely puts that lady on blast. I was like, whoa. I was like, I didn't see that coming, where he's just like, he's like, I don't really like you. And he's like, frankly, I think you're dumb and stupid and ugly. Mm-hmm. And I'll never like you. I was just like, God dang, dude. It's like, that was kind of rough, but I thought it was a really well executed scene. So anyways, I thought Winterlight was pretty good. I like them both. I would say, I think they're both like the same like quality of movie for me. I just, I actually kind of liked Winterlight more. So
yeah. Yeah, I'd say that they're both the same at this point. Calibers for me, but I just like, I mean, I would say that like Winterlight just like I love elements of it. I like how stark it is. I like how stripped down it is, and it feels very committed to making it have this empty vibe to it. It looks again gorgeous. None of these movies look bad at all. I love the emptiness of the church that drives home how empty that building is, and it's just these like little like ridiculous, absurd little people walking around doing the rituals. Speaking to these things that no one seems to be even like into, because like Marta, I think, is like an atheist in this, and like they're all like other than Olgout, the sexton, he's like the only one that seems to be like pretty okay, and even he's kind of like, well, I might not believe in this, but I did some reading, I was trying to take my mind off things, and I just started reading the Bible, and I'm getting in there deeper, and I'm just finally getting to that thing about Jesus.
Yeah, this is a crazy book. Have you ever read this thing?
Yeah. Hey, Pastor, you ever read this thing? You read this like John? It's kind of weird. It gets a little wild.
This thing's crazy.
Do you think this is real?
Well, yeah. I see. I like those kinds of conversations too. I just thought it was funny. I was like, hey, that's neat.
Neat.
Or not even neat. That's not a word, but oh no, neat is a word for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think we're in agreement.
Yes.
They're both good shows.
Good pictures.
Yeah, they're good quality shows. Yeah.
Want to hear about who hates these movies?
I guess. I don't know. I guess.
All right. So first up, we got Through a Glass Darkly.
Okay.
You might find these a couple down from the half stars that you'll see. One being I think there's some troll jobs going on, so you got to dig.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a 1-star review from Jacob Phillips.
Okay, that's just the first one.
Okay, so it's maybe the other one.
Winterlight, you're thinking, yeah.
So easily the most banal, unnecessary thing I've seen from Bergman. Goes from terrible, corny melodrama to psychological drama halfway through and doesn't justify it. Terrible.
Terrible. So I think this person could be a rival of friend of the show Justin Peterson, because Jacob Phillips is from North Carolina, not South Carolina, Jared. This person got pretty good taste. Like favorite movies are like Fire Walk with Me, 8.5, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Those are good.
All 5-star movies are good shows from like Criterion things. Brazil, Killing of a Chinese Bookie, Ed Wood. I know you're a big Ed Wood guy.
Yeah.
Being There, The Thing, Miller's Crossing. That's a movie that you like that not a lot of people give love.
But why is he being so harsh on this?
I don't know. He really likes Criterion movies. He just gave Taste of Cherry 4.5 stars.
Wow.
And then half-star films are things like Avengers Endgame, A Beautiful Mind. It's weird. Guava Island. I also didn't think that was a good show. Reanimator. You're losing me. Ant, 0.5 star. Losing me even more. And then, I don't know, just random stuff.
All right. Enough of that guy.
Yeah.
All right. 1 star from Martin Eva.
Okay. Martina Viviva.
Occasionally powerful images trying to escape this total embarrassment of a film.
Maybe you're an embarrassment, Martina Viva. Time will tell. All their 5-star films are like French movies, so I don't even know what any of this shit is. Like, what is La Gueule Ouverte? The Mouth Agape. Okay. Les Amants Réguliers by Lionel D'Arch. Regular Lovers. Okay. De la Nube à la Resistance. From the Clouds of the Resistance.
All right.
I don't know what any of this shit is,
right.
Jarrett.
Who cares?
Who knows?
All right. Then I've got Winterlight coming up.
Okay.
2 for you. 1 star from Evanston Dad.
Okay.
God, give me a break, Ingmar Bergman. This middle film in his Silence trilogy is unbearably depressing, bleak, and hopeless. I've heard that Bergman had a disdain for filmmaking and didn't like it as a medium for telling his stories. I've heard. One has to wonder, then, why he felt compelled to make so many films, especially when they all pound the same point into the ground over and over again. He obviously had the same disdain for his audiences as he decided to inflict his depressing frame of mind on all of us. Winterlight isn't a bad film technically, and I know I'm being a petulant reviewer here, but sometimes my gut emotional reaction completely outweighs any artistic considerations when looking at a film, and I just couldn't stand this in my mind. Nearly unwatchable movie. Grade D.
I don't know about grades, but this person gave First Reformed 5 stars.
Oh, fuck off.
So what does that tell you? Here's some interesting half-star reviews, Jarrett. Half a star for Killing of a Chinese Bookie. It's coming up a lot tonight. The Fountain, a terrific movie. The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson. No, that's not a half-star movie, Jarrett. What about Happiness? Do you think that's a half-star film?
That's a 5-star, baby.
Well, I guess this guy's not one of our guys.
Not one of our guys. Sorry, Evanston Dad. And finally, we'll go 1.5 star. Squeaky Socks.
Ew.
I recently watched Through a Glass Darkly merely for its kind of cryptic title. I found out it was the first film of an aesthetic trilogy, so I figured I'd check out the other two. One key factor that made Through a Glass Darkly so compelling was the location and the interaction between the characters. It really captured the imagination. This film, however, plays far less with the imagination. The focal point is the existential conflict of a pastor and with a woman he knows as well as a few others. It's almost first person, but not at all. This could be the autism speaking, but I don't really care about the inner conflicts of a lead character, especially one with little personality. This movie plays out the consequences of his mental decision, which, again, doesn't capture the interest. What a bigger letdown is that in movies like these, I go with the setting instead, which can be engaging. This movie doesn't offer that either. The first 2/3 essentially are spent in blank rooms at the church. The third shows the village and the effects brought upon by the death of a fisherman. Kinda. More character drama, all in a sterile setting. Mind you, these aren't negative elements I'm bestowing upon this movie. I'm not saying it's a bad film. I just personally found it exceptionally boring. Overall, I doubt I'll rewatch it, but it certainly exudes that charm that Bergman's films have. I don't know, RJ, could it be the autism speaking?
It's new for you and me to have a comment like that on the podcast.
Yup.
I mean, it could be. The person likes a lot of anime. I don't know. Was that a bad thing to say? I don't know.
Oh man.
I don't know. Their tastes are all over the fucking place. Like 5 stars to Speed, and then 5 stars to Star Trek, and then 5 stars to UHF.
Ooh.
Like, you know what I mean? And then, like, I don't know, there's some half stars to My Best Friend's Wedding, The Nice Guys, and then Doctor Strangelove. It's I don't know what it is. Maybe it is that one thing speaking. Maybe autism decided to give Boogie Nights 1 star.
Oh, wow.
See?
Wow.
Or what about The Wrestler 1 star?
What the fuck?
There's actual 1-star movies in there too, but In the Mood for Love, 1.5, Winter Light, 1.5. I don't know. This person's all over the place, but they do watch a lot of animated movies. Let me tell you. Autism. Sure.
Wow. Okay. So, Bergman.
Or what's the subtitle to Birdman?
Oh, fuck.
Something clever, right?
Yeah, something real up its own ass. Yeah, so that's 2 down, 2 to go.
2 to go? All right. I feel good about what we did.
We'll see how things settle up next week, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I might quit, but you can keep going.
That's fine.
Yeah.
After the break, RJ and I are going to tell someone about how their husband just killed themselves. And then kind of like look through the window and say, oh, there they are telling their kids about it. Job well done. And then drive off to the next church.
Did that happen in this movie?
It kind of did.
Job well done. All right. See you later.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not totally what I took out of it, but I kind of like your interpretation a little bit.
Well, I think in First Reformed he bangs her, so there's that.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, because movies are dumb.
Sick.